G'day guys, how's it going? I'm Aaron Whitnell, this is ACWSport, and what a start we had to the 2017-2018 Premier League season. We had everything, goals, even more goals, terrible defending, shocks, controversial decisions, and some insane results. And there is only one place to start, and that is at the home of the champions Chelsea, where they were beaten 3-2 at home to Burnley, and quite shockingly were 3-0 down at half-time. And to be honest with you, Chelsea, you can't blame it on the sendings off, because Fabregas was an idiot, and so was Cahill. Cahill should have known that that challenge was going to get him a red, and he shouldn't have dived in like that. We know that in today's world, as soft as it may seem to us as fans, that those kinds of challenges are going to produce cards like that. But still, to go down to 10 men, to collapse in the way that Chelsea did in the first half, was just shocking. I mean, the defending was absolutely dreadful. But credit to Burnley, because they scored some great goals, especially that Ward strike. The play down that left-hand side was fantastic, and then the finish was spectacular. So fair play to Burnley. And when you consider that Burnley only won 1 of 21 away games last season, and that was towards the end of the season when they won at Crystal Palace, what a start this is to the season for them. Now look, there's a lot of big problems that seem to be going on at Chelsea. No one's 100% sure whether there is generally problems, whether Conte's making problems that aren't there, but we know that the squad is a little bit depleted, or it seems depleted to Conte, and that he's saying that they can't, or they aren't strong enough to challenge on both fronts for the Champions League or for the Champions League or for the Premier League. Sorry, but when you actually look at their squad, you've got to wonder why that's the case. I mean, look at Chelsea's business over the window. Yes, you brought in Morata. Yes, all right, we know that there are problems with Diego Costa. But when you look at the other players that Chelsea have let go, there's no excuse to be made, especially for a defeat like you guys have just had. For example, you look at the players you guys have let go in terms of Zuma, Parker, Brown, Loftus-Cheek, and Tony Abrahams, all loaned out to other Premier League players. Guess what? They all started this weekend. So why is it they're good enough to start in the Premier League for other clubs, but they're not good enough to start for Chelsea, when apparently you guys have got such a depleted squad? So you end up playing players that, to be honest with you, most of the fans have never heard of, like Boga, for example. So how does that make any sense whatsoever? To be honest with you, it's going to be interesting to see where Chelsea go from this point on. All right, look, it's only one game. All right, let's get this out of the way. Shocks happen on the opening weekend every single year. And it does take a few weeks to get into your rhythm. It took Chelsea a few weeks to get into their rhythm last year, and then look what happened. They went on a 13-game unbeaten run. And when you look at the positives, look at Morata. He was phenomenal for Chelsea when he came on off the bench. But why was he starting on the bench in the first place? All right, you've just signed him for, what was it, 70 million in the end? Ridiculous price tag. We know he's a proven goal scorer in Serie A, in La Liga, and at international level. He carried on his goal-scoring run of scoring on debuts, because he also did that in Serie A and La Liga. And now, obviously, he's done it in the Prem. But why is he starting on the bench? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But Chelsea don't have any excuse. They collapsed in an embarrassing way, and the fans have every right to be like, what the hell? Because despite the issues going on behind the scenes, which obviously we're not 100% clear on, as to whether or not they are bringing in new players or whether or not they're letting players go that Conte never wanted to let go, like Matic, for example, they still shouldn't collapse like that on the pitch and be idiotic in the way that they were, especially Fabregas, because his sending off shouldn't... I mean, no one should have any sympathy with him, to be completely honest with you. Sarcastically applauding the referee. What do you expect to happen? Of course you're going to get a yellow card for that. And his second challenge, he's lucky he didn't get a straight red for that. If Cahill's challenge was a straight red, he's lucky he didn't pick up a straight red. So, yeah, like I said, it's only one game, but an awful start to the season for Chelsea and a fantastic start for Burnley. And, yeah, Vokes up front. Tell you what, he could have a real solid season. Now that he's fit, you saw how dangerous he can be, especially in the air. So, yeah, positive start for Burnley and maybe a more optimistic season than I predicted for you guys. Now, on to the game that really kicked off the Premier League season, Arsenal versus Leicester. What a game. All right, now, look, I know that a few Arsenal fans have been rumbling and grumbling a little bit about the defending. And look, the defending was awful from pretty much every team in the Premier League this weekend in some way, especially from set pieces. But I think you just have to look at this game as a straight-up classic. It was amazing. And there were so many positives to take away from both teams. For a start, Arsenal actually managed to win a home game on the opening day of the season. Well done. That's brilliant for you guys. Finally broke that duck of losing. Leicester, I mean, Jamie Vardy looked sharp as anything, so did Okazaki. So there's some real positives there that you've got the old Vardy back, which is brilliant. And yeah, I mean, for Arsenal, obviously Lacazette scoring on his debut, he looked sharp. Giroud coming off the bench again. Whether or not there is going to be an issue of whether or not he starts or keeps on being the super sub for you is yet to be seen. But yeah, I think you should just look at that as a straight-out classic. Fantastic way to start the Premier League season. However, you can't really say the same for Liverpool because they started the season with a disappointing 3-3 draw at Watford. Again, fantastic opening fixture to the Premier League season. 3 goals for each team. Watford looked very well organised under Silva. But this is where the first major controversial talking point for me of the season comes, because obviously it was before the Chelsea game and the sendings off and everything that came then. And yeah, I know there was a bit of a handball incident in the Arsenal-Leicester game that wasn't given, but this is the first real clear-cut poor decision by the officials, and that is Watford's equaliser in the dying minutes of injury time to make it 3-0. How far offside can you be before it's actually given as offside? It's a ridiculous decision, and Liverpool should feel aggrieved because it's poor officiating that has cost them the 3 points. Saying that, they need to sort out the defence because I know at the moment there's a lot going on with Coutinho, but you need to get Van Dijk or someone in like that to sort out that back line because it was too leaky and he didn't look strong enough. And when you're conceding 3 goals to a team like Watford, no disrespect Watford, but you didn't have Gray playing, who's obviously your star signing over the summer, alongside Troy Deeney up front. It's not good from Liverpool, so they need to tighten that up straight away if they're going to actually push for Champions League football again. Now on to obviously the big 2 teams of the season, or predicted big 2 teams from all the pundits in the Manchester sides. City, look, you eventually ground down Brighton. It was a good performance. It's kind of what you expected, really. There's not really too much you can elaborate on from that performance because it's what you expect. Brighton, fair play to them. It's one of those games you just got to enjoy when you play against a team like City when it's your first game in the Premier League. And, you know, you did well to hold out for as long as you did, but in the end they ground you down because they've got a lot of quality in their side. So, on to the next game. Brighton, you're not going to face a team like Man City every single weekend, so look at the positives in there. But yeah, good spirited display from Brighton. Yeah, it's what you expected from City. You expected them to win, and they did. Job done. Tottenham, great performance up at Newcastle, especially in the second half. First half was a bit boring, to say the least. But even though obviously there is controversy around Tottenham at the moment because of these Danny Rose comments made in the newspapers, probably not the best thing to happen just before a season starts. But look, at the end of the day, it was a solid performance. The new fullback, Walker-Peters, looked fantastic. And Spurs seem to just continuously churn out good youngsters or good young players, whether or not they bring them in, and you may not have heard of them before, or they bring them through their academy. So still exciting times for Tottenham. I'm very much expecting Tottenham to be title contenders again this season. As for Jonjo Shelvey, like Fabregas, what are you doing? Such an idiotic thing to do when it's 0-0 and you guys were in the game, quite easily in the game, because not really too much was happening. And in the end, Tottenham ground you down and got the 2 goals because you were sent off. So, yeah, I mean, just another idiotic moment from a player who's, especially when he's your captain, should know better. So very disappointing from Jonjo Shelvey. You know, Newcastle have got positives to take away from that game. But with what Mike Ashley said about the money and whether or not you can keep Benitez happy should be a concern moving forward, because if you can't keep Benitez happy, then obviously I'm not really going to expect him to stay around, and I don't think too many other people would as well. So hopefully Ashley can sort out any issues he may have with Benitez in terms of bringing players in, because we know Newcastle have missed out on some of the targets they wanted, like Tony Abrahams, for example, who ended up going to Swansea. But yeah, I mean, again, you're not going to face teams like Tottenham every single week. So those are the games where if you get something out of them, it's a bonus. But still, it's kind of what you expected from that game, really. For me, though, the best performers of the weekend were Manchester United. They blew West Ham away in some style. Romelu Lukaku looked like an absolute beast. And we finally saw the real Paul Pogba. And, I mean, Matic was on fire as well. It's the best performance Manchester United have put in under Jose Mourinho, and probably the best performance they've put in since Sir Alex Ferguson left in the Premier League. It was absolutely brilliant. West Ham were poor. I thought Hernandez tried, but wasn't really given too much support at times. But, again, I'm not expecting West Ham to get anything from the big games like that, even though I do expect them to still finish in the top half of the table. Sounds like you guys are closing in on William Carvalho, which could be a real help to you guys, because again, having that wall in front of the defence like United now have for Matic could really free up some more of your attacking players. So hopefully that deal goes through for West Ham. But yeah, very, very poor defending, very naive defending from West Ham, especially Lukaku's second goal from that set piece. That was awful. It was great to see Anthony Martial coming off the bench, because you can see this kid has got so much talent, but for some reason he's had a few issues with Jose. But if they can iron that out, I still think there is a potential world-class player in Anthony Martial that Manchester United have. And he's still so young. And between him and Rashford, there are some very, very exciting times for Manchester United ahead. Obviously, again, it's only one game, but perfect start to the season. And I'm sure Jose will be delighted. Moving on to Huddersfield, newly promoted side. What a start for you guys. Absolutely blew away Crystal Palace. Yeah, De Boer's got a few things to worry about, that's for sure, looking at the way Palace were playing. And again, you know, listening to what a lot of people have been saying, is a Sam Allardyce team trying to play proper football, which, you know, the tiki-taka stuff isn't necessarily going to work if that's the way you're going with those kinds of players. But again, it might be a bit of a wake-up call for De Boer to see that he needs to make more changes than I think he thought he needed to make. But yeah, I mean, you can't take anything away from Huddersfield. Fantastic performance. And hopefully you guys can continue this momentum moving forward, because you couldn't have asked for a better start in that way. It was also great to see Wayne Rooney score on his return to Goodison Park, something like 4,086 days after his last Everton goal, scoring on his homecoming and his second debut for the club. And you can see how passionate he was when he scored as well, which I think a lot of people were actually quite happy to see, because you know, he had offers from China, America, and other leagues where he could have been earning so much more money. We've heard the rumours that, you know, some Chinese clubs were offering £1 million a week for him to go there. And the fact that he's returned to his boyhood club does say something about Wayne Rooney, which I think should be respected. And yeah, I mean, you look at the other results, they were kind of what you'd expect, really. Bournemouth, I think, probably would have been expecting better. But, you know, I predicted that Southampton and Swansea would draw, so I was quite happy that I got one right. All right, I didn't get the exact score right, but I thought they were going to draw, which they did. And yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the opening weekend to the Premier League. So, very exciting start. And, yeah, bring on the second week. But what do you guys think were the real key points from this opening weekend of the Premier League? You know, what did you make of the refereeing decisions? Are the problems at Chelsea being blown out of proportion? Are the real Manchester United back? You know, is the real Jamie Vardy back? What do you guys make of Wayne Rooney's return to Everton? Please comment below, let me know, and of course, be sure to tune in later on this week to hear what I predict the results will be for the second week of the Premier League season. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good week, and I will see you guys later on towards the weekend.